Hello, everyone. This is Coach Mike Ronchetti. I'm excited to have a fellow business owner from Indiana with us today. It's my pleasure to welcome Michael Reddy to the show. Hello, Michael.
Hey, Mike. Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Looking forward to the next couple of minutes and hearing more of your thoughts and how you got to where you are, and it'll be fun. So let's begin with you introducing yourself and tell me a bit about your personal story, where you're born, where you live now, about your family, some hobbies. And I always like to ask the question, if there's a funny story people like to tell about you, please tell us.
Oh, man. All right. I grew up, I was actually born on a military base in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. My dad was in the military at that time. Grew up here in northern Indiana, grew up in Osceola and went to Penn High School. Went to college at Olivet Nazarene University. From there, I was privileged to play football in both high school and college. Was on the first state championship football team at Penn. That's kind of a fun fact. Um, Probably hobbies. I love to wake surf. I play softball. I still play competitive senior softball, and I'm now it's kind of like little league for old guys, but I'm having a great time with that. I'm traveling. I played in Florida twice already this year, and we'll probably play close to a dozen tournaments. So I stay active that way and have a lot of fun with it. In addition to the business, I'm an owner at Synergy Insurance Group and have a wonderful, wonderful team. We're growing, we're dynamic, and just having a great time, having a lot of fun. Funny story, man. Where do I go with that? If I'd have been thinking about that first, I'd have had one of my kids tell the story because they have something that either revolves around me losing my temper as a young father or around technology. But we'll leave that for another time.
Those are two funny topics for a future time too. Great, thanks for sharing with this. Your background is wonderful. So let's just kind of swing into business here and tell us about your business, how it came about, and what point did you have the confidence that you could actually run this thing?
I would say it goes back to I started in the insurance business as a self-employed independent contractor over 30 years ago. And my dad was also in the insurance business. And I would say that the thing that probably gave me the confidence, the most confidence, you'll hear a theme coming up because I grew up very healthy childhood growing up, two great parents. Um, when my dad would introduce me to a client that maybe I was going to take over for, he would say, "This is my son, Mike. He's a lot smarter than I am, and he's going to take even better care of you than I did." And I thought, man, two things. Number one, that my dad had the confidence to even say that in front of his clients. And it set a high bar for me, but it told me that he had the confidence in me, and if he had the confidence in me, I knew I could do it. And that really has resonated, and that's in the he's gone now, but that's in the back of my mind all the time. And I still have clients that my dad introduced me to all those years ago that still work with the agency, and I'm hopeful that I've lived up to the accolades that he gave me.
Uh, well, I got to believe you have because your reputation is very, very sound locally, and you're going to tell us a little bit more about your insurance company. So let's hear the story here. How did you come about, or what's I mean? You kind of explained that you're doing your thing called Synergy Insurance Group or company. Tell us about that.
So, yeah, Synergy Insurance Group is an independent insurance agency, and we've got a couple of different facets of it. We have about 20 employees in the main insurance agency, and Synergy spends about we do about 70% of our business with local companies in a commercial and employee benefits space, have a high degree of expertise in that space. About 30% of our business is in the personal, the auto, home, life insurance, that kind of thing with individuals. And we also have a growing area in strategic planning where we work with our business clients on their strategic plans so that they can sustain and grow their organizations. There's another side of the business that is called Lightwell, and Lightwell specifically focuses on churches, nonprofits, and universities. And we do the insurance for a number of those entities throughout Indiana, Michigan, and Illinois. And it's a fantastic niche business that is tied back to Synergy, but it's branded differently for that nonprofit world. And how we got started. It's interesting because I was telling this story the other day, but um, I've got four other business partners, and the one of them, Billy Bridwell, and I have been at this from the very beginning. And I remember distinctly when there was three or four employees, and we were standing in his office. He's like, "What are we going to do?" Because at that time we were an employee benefits only agency, and it was back in the time where we were wondering, is health insurance and employee benefits going to be a thing, or is the government going to take it over? Or what's going on with this? And we very clearly said, should we just hire our wives as the two employees besides us and loot this thing, ride it as long as we can, and then go do something else? Or do we blow this thing up and make it everything it could be? And we opted for B, and have had a tremendous run of success, just in building the business, going a couple of different directions with it, but always coming back to being a local retail insurance agency.
Well, again, like your reputation is solid as well as your business model is diversified. So you're smart and look at a lot of different things. So you're a success, number one. That's awesome. So for everyone listening, check out the company in the link in the description below and comment on their LinkedIn page that you did watch this interview, and that'd be fantastic if you could help us out there. Moving on to some other topics. Yeah, I need to now go into a little bit of personal stuff. Share a story where maybe somebody pushed you or inspired you that you could do it and that impact it had. I mean, it could be in any sport, it could be anything you do, but just share that kind of story.
Yeah, interestingly, when I was in high school, I went to Penn, and from the time I was in kindergarten, my kindergarten teacher's husband was a Penn football coach. So from the time I was 5 years old, I wanted to play Penn football. And my sophomore year, I broke my wrist uh, during the season, so I didn't get to finish out playing. I was on a team, but I was injured. My junior year, early in the year, I had a knee injury that sidelined me for about 10 days, and the coach took my equipment, gave it to somebody else, and I was just distraught by that, and I told my mom I was going to quit, and my mom, the happiest moment in her life would be if her baby quit playing football, because she did not like to see the collisions and everything. But my mom said, listen, she goes, we don't quit anything. She said, if you don't want to play football, that's fine, but don't play next year. You're going to finish this year, and then you can reevaluate at the end of the year. And it was kind of a tough stance for a mom to take.
Mhm.
But I finished the year. I ended up earning my letter at the end of the year. I went on, I played my senior year, had a successful senior year, and then I got a scholarship to play in college, and I got to play for 4 more years.
Ah,
So this sport that I loved, that I was willing to give up kind of in the moment because it was emotional and I got my feelings hurt. My mom, you know, did some tough love talk, and she said, you need to stick it out and finish. And that's kind of a metaphor for life, is that there's just a lot of things, especially in business. I've been kicked in the teeth untold numbers of times in business. And emotionally, you just want to say, I'm giving up, I'm done. But there's something deeper that says, I'm going to see this thing through to the finish. And ultimately, I've been very fortunate to experience some of the rewards that a successful business offers. And I think a lot of that mindset goes back to when my mom said, you're going to finish this, you're going to stick it out.
got it. Got it. What an inspiration that was, and obviously you, like you say, you remember it clearly to this day. It sounds like. So now, kind of taking it to a business level, can you have a similar situation of a learning that you maybe come across and said, "Boy, that was a learning in business that I never thought about before, and it has impact."
I think one of my biggest business revelations is something that happened over time, and it's the importance of culture in an organization. And I've been involved in very large businesses. I've been involved in private equity backed, super fast growing businesses, and I've been involved in local, mom and pop independent businesses.
Hmm.
And I think it was Peter Drucker that said culture will eat strategy for lunch. And I I am very big on strategic planning, and have a pretty strong background in that. But I've recognized that the cultural aspect of that plan is more important. If you have a strong culture, you can take a plan and you can execute on it and you can do great things. But you can have the best plan in the world. and have a culture that won't support that plan, and it'll be an abysmal failure. And we hear these things all the time. I've lived them, and I've seen a culture evolve from very poor to very robust, and the impact that it's had on business. And I would encourage business owners to work on culture on a daily basis. And it seems counterintuitive to work on this stuff that's kind of touchy-feely, that you can't necessarily get your arms around it. But every one of us has been in a business that we're like, there's something different about that business. And it's culture, because culture is going to happen in your organization, whether or not you're guiding it and directing it. So if it's going to occur and you're not driving it, it's probably going to develop into something that you don't want. And my experience is that if you're driving that culture and it becomes what you want, it will enhance your business in an exponential manner.
Hmm. What a great learning that you were able to share with us. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're kind of going back to the idea of what you're describing as success. We know it doesn't happen in isolation, like you kind of described here. Tell us your biggest challenge during the years that you and maybe a fellow business owner who helped you get through that situation of building that culture, like you described.
Two things come to mind when you ask that question. Number one, early in my career, I had some super success and some flat out failures, fall on your face. And I rode that emotional roller coaster. And my dad took me aside one day and said, listen, don't let your highs be too high or your lows be too low. Celebrate wins, learn from your losses, but don't ride that roller coaster up and down. And that has really helped shape how I look at business, because you can be on that huge spike and drop, or you can stay a little bit more even keel. And it truly does impact how I think and how I reason through problems. Another ditty there, I worked with a guy named George, and George would always tell me, Mike, it's a mighty thin pancake that doesn't have two sides. And I always think of that when any business problem, because you have, anytime there's a problem, you've got at least two sides. And this side is vying for a solution, and this side's vying for a solution. And sometimes they're telling very different stories. And so if you don't get both stories, you don't get both sides of the pancake, if you will, you're probably not going to get the real story. And so I always go back to George's saying, it's a mighty thin pancake that doesn't have two sides. And it's funny. And everybody I ever tell that to is like, yep, that's right.
Yeah, that's definitely keep it materials. Fantastic. So, kind of going back to this journey side of things, and now you've identified a couple of people in your life, especially your parents, a couple other people, maybe pick three people who help you in the business side of it that you're grateful for, helping you the business strength that you've got, and who are they and how did they help you?
I referenced my dad earlier, but he's kind of my business icon. My dad was not a big, he had a bad partnership early in his business dealings. And so he was kind of anti partners in business, which I've gravitated away from that. Um, but he taught me so much about just treating people with respect and dignity. I watched my dad. He always treated, back in the day when they had secretaries, he always treated the secretary like they were the most important person in the conversation. He
Hmm.
also, he treated his clients like they were the most important person in a conversation. And then when he was, dealing with somebody that might be an executive, he was also super respectful of that person, but he didn't fawn over him or anything like that, but he treated everybody with respect and dignity. And I really feel like in that owner journey, whether that person is, and those that have run small businesses have been the executive, and they've taken the trash out.
Hmm.
And if you can recall those times in your life where you were the person that had to do the task that nobody else wanted to do, how did you feel about that? And you wanted to do the task as best to the best of your ability, but you wanted people around you to respect what you were doing. And he always gave that respect. And I've always thought about that, no matter who I'm dealing with in the organization, they get respect and dignity as I would give to anybody else. Another person is my partner, Billy. He is a great yin to my yang, if you will. We have very complementary skill sets, and he is not threatened by my skill set, and I'm not threatened by his skill set. We recognize where the other one is strong, and so he plays to his strengths, and I support that. I play to my strengths, and he supports that. And it's really helped us grow and build this business much better. He would have been a successful business guy without me. I'd have been a successful business guy without him, but not to the degree that we have experienced. And we've been through multiple iterations of business. We've just kind of been linked at the hip all the way through. And he's a great friend and a great business partner. And if you can have somebody in your business life that can speak truth to you no matter what, and can tell you when when you're screwing up or when you're not at your best, that's incredibly valuable. There's too many business leaders that don't have somebody that can hold them accountable. I'm not one of them, because Billy, he'll tell me the way it is, and I appreciate that. And probably you said three people. The third person would be my wife, who I can vent to, who is an encourager when I'm having a rough day, and she can pat me on the back and tell me it's going to be okay. Trisha is fantastic about that, and has an outlook that helps me gain perspective when I may be being a little. My daughter calls it being out of pocket. So if I'm being out of pocket, my wife can bring me back, and I need that.
Thank you for that grounding last person. keeps it. My wife keeps me grounded too. I appreciate that.
For sure.
Right. So going kind of future focus now, as you think about the next 3 years or so, maybe 2 or 3 years, what's your number one point of growth or challenge you think you're going to have to achieve your goals?
I think for us, a lot of it is going to revolve around efficiency. We've recently recognized, it's not that we haven't recognized this, but we've said, okay, AI ain't going away. We have to have an AI strategy. So we are just digging into that. I think that's going to help us become more efficient just in a number of different areas. And I don't even know everything that's out there. I just know that if we will embrace it rather than be afraid of it, that we will become more efficient. We're technology, everything around technology, we had, like a lot of people, I'm sure, you'd have a problem, you'd buy technology to address the problem. You have this, buy some more technology, this, buy some more technology. And we had all these technologies, and some of the things that they did were the same things, and we had overlap and we had underutilization. So I would say over the next couple of years, if we can get the technology aspect under control to where our technology spend is under control and we're using it to the maximum degree, if we develop an AI strategy, and it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be functional, and we have to be continuing to grow in that strategy. We've always been very sales focused, and so we have a good, strong new business process. We have a good pipeline of folks to talk to, and we've got some just absolutely great insurance minds on our team. So I'm not worried about that side of it. My concern is around how do we most effectively and efficiently implement not only the technology strategies that we're aware of today, but what are the new things coming around that we can embrace that will move us forward at a more rapid pace. I don't necessarily want to be on the bleeding edge, but I certainly want to be an early adopter. And so that's going to require us paying attention to the marketplace and then digging in when we have the opportunity to embrace and execute on these technology solutions.
Wow, that's exciting that you've identified that way and realizing that embracing and having your culture embrace it as a fundamental foundational point is so true and hard. It's not easy because it's a new thing. Change management is always challenging for cultures, and this one's really exciting because it can make a lot of things happen quicker, better, faster, and smarter, and using it as not as a negative but a positive. What a model you have. That's great. It's fantastic. I want to change the subject for a second here. Jim Rome, who happens to be in our world of business coaching, kind of one of the legends, he passed away recently, and a situation where he had a comment and said, "We're kind of becoming the average of our 5 people that we spend the most time with." Think about it, your 5 friends, 5 work associates, whatever. As you think about that, what advice do you have for any business owner who says, "I'm going to try it on my own"?
You know, they say it's lonely at the top, and it's so true. There are people out there doing it on their own. I've worked with a number of very small businesses where I really feel like somebody owns a job and they don't own a business
Mm-hmm.
because they're trying to do it on their own. And sometimes, and it's always has to do with capacity. Some capacity is the number of hours that there are to work in a day. You just only can work so hard and so long. Some capacity is the emotional ability to handle different things thrown, or the ability to manage people, or it could be the capacity, just a knowledge capacity based upon the industry that you're in. But by bringing in people that complement you,
Mm-hmm.
um, don't be, I would tell a business owner to never be threatened by somebody they bring in who is smarter than them, because that person will help them grow their business. As a business leader, if your strongest ability is just to galvanize a team, develop a vision, and point them in the right direction, and you've got a bunch of people around you who are really a lot smarter than you and a lot better at executing than you're going to win. And I mean, I wish that I was a better executor in my business. I'm just not that good at it. But I am surrounded by people that are incredible at it. Not only are they incredible at it, they love doing it. You give me a list of things to do and say, hey, check off all these boxes, and it just turns my stomach. But I got people on my staff that if I hand them a list and I say, hey, I need these things done, they're done, and I don't have to think about it. So I would say, focus and spend as much time as possible in your gifts, the things that bring you joy as a business owner, because not every step of the business process is joyful to every business owner. I would say spend as much time in your gift that brings you joy as possible, and bringing others around you to handle the stuff that you don't love.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very helpful for that business owner to hear your words and your expression of how you see it. The real world is. That's wonderful. So Michael, it sounds like you've been blessed with some really, really incredible people around you. Who've helped you along the journey. What would you like to say to them?
I've got a leadership team that's Nate and Rick and Dave and Billy and Karen and Jen. Those are all fantastic people who are complimenting me in moving this organization forward. They all have a skill set that is not only complementary, but it's superior to mine in a number of different ways. And I want to tell them thank you. We've got some amazing clients out there that help us in this journey along the way, and we appreciate them. And as a business organization, while managing risk, both on the property and casualty and the employee benefit side, is what we do on a day-to-day basis. Our goal is to help our clients be more efficient and effective at what they do, so that they can build their businesses in a more efficient manner and a more effective manner. So, while we look at the technical work that we do, is incredibly necessary and incredibly important, our real goal is to help our clients be able to grow and develop and become uh, more prevalent and stronger in the community, so that they can impact the people around them. And I just can't say enough good things about my team, my leadership team, our extended team. The folks at Synergy are some of the best people that I know. Love working with them on a day-to-day basis, and it's a privilege to lead this organization for sure.
So Michael, it's really been a pleasure speaking with you today. So thank you for being on my show.
Thank you.